My name's Jeff St Laurent. This is the live Tuesday call, first call of 2017. So that's always exciting. There's something about a new year, right? That just, it feels like, wow, it doesn't matter what happened to me or in the world or the circumstances in the past. It's almost like a clean slate, and that's exciting. And it's also a time where it feels like there's just so much opportunity in front of us. There always is. But especially when we jump into January. So to get started, just so we all are aware, I do record these calls. I do post them on my website, which is sellingcoaching.com. If you go to sellingcoaching.com under my university, that's where you see all these live recorded calls. We're up to like almost 50 of them so far. And additionally, I have a lot of almost like 100 short 2 to 3 minute videos there as well for you, so educational videos. And if you're new to some of my calls, I go into a lot of depth, a lot of detail. I don't hold anything back, and it's all there complimentary for you because I want to help coaches transition to a full-time business. I've been doing this since 2004 full-time, and I really want to help coaches and guide them specifically as free as I can. And then, of course, if you find yourself in that position where it's like, yeah, you know what, you can get a lot from that, but get specific with yourself, I do offer one-on-one mentoring, and then also I do some group mentoring as well. So if you're in that spot, you can always go to my website, like I said, sellingcoaching.com, and you can go to the Work With Me tab down the bottom. You can fill out that form, and obviously we can communicate and create a conversation from there. If you're not in my private Facebook group, go to my website, sellingcoaching.com. Right at the top of every page, you'll see a little thing that says join my private Facebook group. At least check it out. We've got a lot of great stuff going on in there. And actually, at the end of the call today, I'll be briefly mentioning something exciting I'll be launching next Wednesday. So I'm just going to give a little sneak peek, a little teaser, and I'll be giving out more information towards the end of the week, and then obviously next week as we launch. So really cool stuff going on there. And of course, as you call in today, you get a little sneak peek of that. So I like to reward people that get to call in. So with that being said, check out that private Facebook group. A lot of cool things going in there. Also, it's a great place where we get to interact as well. So I'm talking fast because I got a lot to say today. I'm going to try and summarize it the best I can, where I can leave at least a little bit of time at the end to open it up for some, just questions and comments. But today, as we kick off this new year, I want to look at, kind of like the overall objective of our business. We're not going to go into so much detail today like I do on our regular calls, because I want to kind of get up to that maybe that 10,000 foot view, if you will, of your business, and start to give you some general like mindsets and philosophies of like, what are we thinking? What are we supposed to be doing in our business? What are our if you will, our daily objectives? Not so much on a task by task item, but more of with whatever those tasks are, they've got to lead to these things. They've got to lead to these results, if you will, of what we're going for. Because a lot of what I find as I talk to newer coaches is, and even as we spoke with some of the callers before we got started, is, I always hear the phrase like, now what? So whether someone's gone through a coaching school, is going through a coaching school, or maybe they want to become a coach. You don't have to be a certified coach from a school per se. It's always helpful and it's always nice, but some people just want to become a coach. And it's like, I always hear the phrase, now what? Like, and there's so many things they can do, but where do I begin? So let's start off with, and if you've been following me for a while, hopefully, I know you will hear some common threads. There'll be some things I'll be saying that I say maybe almost in every call, but through different topics that we're talking about. And that repetition is vitally important for us to understand. So the first thing we want to think about is the overall objective of our business. The number one thing we're doing with any action we're going to do. So any action you do, it's got to relate back to this one objective. And that one objective is attracting an audience, right? We're building an audience. We're building a community. Said very differently and just maybe logistically is we're building an email list, right? That's very like business-like and non-personal. But yeah, we're building an email list. But really what it is it's a community. It's a community of real people with real challenges and that you're helping them with. And so your whole business is your community. Like my community, if you notice when I started this call, I said, hey, here's my website. I've got my university there. I want people going there because I want to educate them, want to help them out. I build loyal followers because I'm helping them up with real information. My private Facebook group, I want to interact with people and get to know people. When people call in and maybe I haven't even talked to them live, but we've had messages, or I just see them post or comment. Like I'll see a name and I'll see the little square on Facebook with their little face next to it, and I'll see that person, and I feel like I start to get to know them if I see a video on there. And that's what I mean by starting to build that community of people. So I said this already, but your whole business is your database. It's your community of people. That's your group of people that become loyal to you. They're there because they like you or they love you, and they're your fans, so to speak. You want to build your fan base. And within those fans, we're thinking about, we want to contribute to them, we want to help them, we want to interact with them, we want to get to know them. So the two phases to the overall objective of our business is we're doing activities. I'll call these marketing activities. And these marketing activities are to attract an audience and build an audience. And then as we have an audience, and our audience is going to be, number one, it will always be on an email list. So for instance, like one of the people called in, they mentioned about an email provider like an Aweber, a MailChimp, a Constant Contact, and there's like a billion others out there. Well, those are kind of like maybe the big three. Whoever you choose, just go with one. I mean, I've used all three. I stick with Aweber. I absolutely love it. It's phenomenal. That's my recommendation. But either way, you can't go wrong, especially starting off. But either way, that's where we start to build that community. And like I said, once we've got that community, our next job is to interact with that community. And we can interact through email, emailing our audience. And we can also be interacting through like a social platform like a Facebook, for instance. That's why I have my Facebook group. So that's like my main thing is I'm like email, and I got my Facebook group. And those are my two places where I engage with my community. And so the same thing with you is you're looking to, we want to create a lead capture system, if you will, of where we're going to put these people as we attract them. So starting to pull this together and getting a little bit broader with kind of our philosophies is, okay, well, if we're going to attract an audience, right, and we're going to build this community, we've first thing we've got to do is we've got to figure out who we're going after, right? And so here's the phrase. You might have heard it as a niche or whatever you've heard it as. But here's the phrase. If you're with me, you'll hear me say this over and over again. If you're mentoring with me, this is pretty much one of the first places I'll start off with you, is you've got to figure out the phrase, helping who with what specifically, right? So I need to know who I'm helping and what is that thing I'm helping them with them specifically. So myself, if you go to sellingcoaching.com, I help coaches transition to a full-time business. That's my headline, so to speak. That headline is far more important than a business name, than any other thing that you could figure out. Your logo or website, like don't do anything until you figure that out. Don't be paralyzed and not do anything forever, but you want to come up with that as closely as possible. What that is going to do, that headline, helping who with what specifically, that's going to dictate the rest of your business, because now you're going to understand several things. First and foremost, from a marketing perspective, you're now going to understand, well, and I'll just talk from my perspective here, all right? So if I'm helping coaches, well, now I know why I have to ask myself, where do coaches hang out, on or offline? Where are they? What books do they buy? What groups are they in? What social platforms are they on, et cetera, right? So I can figure out where they are, so I know where to find them. And then I say, okay, well, now I want to understand that market more, if I don't already. But even if I do, like when I went into helping coaches transition to a full-time business, I had been a full-time coach for over 10 years. Part of why I wanted to transition into this and mentoring them, because I'd done it successfully over that long period of time, and I had almost like this calling for it, this mission to assist them and help them with that. But then I want to understand that market a little bit more to understand, where is it within that population that I can help them with? Where's like their biggest need, their wants? And so as you think about this for yourself, this is kind of the foundation of our business, is because now this last part, the helping who, but with what specifically, here's what I want us to think about. And this is vital. And when I work with you mentoring, this is what I really help you figure out here is that with the what specifically, that what specifically has to exude value, meaning there's got to be a lot of value in it for that person by that specific outcome. So if I say transition to a full-time business, there has to be a need for this coach, this person who wants to transition to a full-time business. There has to be a big enough need and a big enough want where they would pay someone like myself to help guide them through this. And this comes back to the selling aspect, because I relate everything back to selling. That's the skill set that's gotten me here, 12, 13 years later, and it's the one that I know will carry myself and you on forever, is understanding the art of selling. And selling is all about timing and need, meaning I've got to have a need and the timing's got to be now. And when that's there, what that means is if they see someone who can assist them, there's value there, and that's where someone buys. When they see value and the timing and the need is right there. And so you've got to look at that phrase, helping who with what specifically, and that with what specifically, that outcome is got to be valuable enough for that person that you're going after, where they would really want to do that. One of my great clients, she's actually on the line today, she's helping people who've lost a loved one find themselves again. When I was helping her, mentoring her, and we were coming up with that phrase together, there's one thing she said was, she's like, when I had lost some of my loved ones, I would have paid anybody anything to help find myself. And she said that on the line, and I'm like, that's it. Like, that's the phrase, helping these people find themselves again. But what she said was, I would have paid anybody anything, any amount of money to help me find myself. See, there was huge value there, and that's where we got to go for that phrase. So now if I pull this away again, and we go, okay, I've got to create an audience, right? I've got to attract an audience. So if I've got to do that, well, I've got to figure out who I'm helping with what specifically. That's now going to allow me to figure out, where these people are and what their need is and what I can actually help them with, right? So now that we have that, those are our first big steps in what we need to do. Now that we have that, what I talked about was that lead capture system is now we know where to find these people. Then what we do is we start communicating our message. Very easy. There's 3 ways to communicate our message. There's a video, there's audio, and then there's written. So there's online, so we can do that online. I always recommend, if you can, start off with video. It's one of the best ways to differentiate yourself, because not a lot of people do it, even though a lot of people know it's very valuable. So practicing that is a vital piece to it. Doesn't mean you will do video. It just means that don't not give it a shot because it's scary. Because if you can come across well on video and you can shine, it's definitely a great avenue to go down. So that would be a preferred way to at least try. But either way, we've got to start communicating our message online. And so that's one way of doing it. And then the second way of communicating our message, if you will, to start to attract this audience, is by doing live events. Live events like this phone call, live events like maybe a Facebook Live, a podcast, there's webinars. Then, of course, then we go offline and we do live events face-to-face, so forth and so on. So those are our ways of getting our message out there. But regardless of what you choose, the biggest thing is, and this is what I work with people when I mentor with them, is now we've identified our audience very specifically and what we're helping them with. Now we don't have to do general things. Like, if you know your audience really well, I'm not going to have you go to a networking group at like a BNI or a Chamber of Commerce unless those people you're going after are there in abundance. Mostly a networking group like that would just be general, like bankers and health club people and realtors, etc. Unless you're going after them, there's no reason to go to stuff like that. We want to go to the places on or offline where these people are at. And now we know more specifically maybe what our message is, and we can start talking around some of those topics. and that starts to attract these people in terms of engaging them, because you're helping them specifically with those pieces in those different formats. But those live events are vital, and the recorded things, like for instance the written stuff or the videos, that's going to be important, because that's going to start getting your message in front of these people. And just like you on the call today, you heard about me or saw me somewhere on a call or on something online, on a video or through a friend, and something about it, you're like, all right, this guy's good, or there's something about it that attracted you to my message, and now you're here. Or you're listening more to determine, is this guy worth following? Is this guy worth investing my time in? Do I want to join his private Facebook group? Do I want to become a part of his email community? And so this is where people get to know you, and they choose whether they want to follow you or not. That's where you start to build your audience. But as you can see, this is all determined by you defining better, who you're helping with what specifically, knowing where they are, getting your message out there. And as we start to get our message out there, part of what we want to do, and again, I can't go into a lot of detail on this stuff. That's why I do with people as, nor do I have the time to it, but that's why I really help people out mentoring with them one-on-one in the groups. But what we want to try and figure out is we want to create some structure within our business to do this. Because even as I talk about it now, some of you, especially if you're starting out, might be like, oh, well, things are a little bit clearer, but you can still be overwhelmed because it feels like so much. But let me narrow it down to maybe make it a little bit better for you. Is number one, when we talk about creating, like getting online, like with social media and stuff like that, we want to figure out where our audience is primarily on social media, and we want to pick one social media platform. We're not on 2 or 3 or many. We're on one. That's it. People are like, oh, I'm going to do Facebook and Twitter and Vine, and there's a billion of them. There's going to be a billion more. It's like, if I'm working with coaches, where are coaches? If you're working with millennials, if you're working with baby boomers, if you're working with moms, if you name the population and with what it is, where are they primarily? Pick that and own that platform. Like, I'm on Facebook. I'm on nothing else. I have a few other things, Google, that get automatically posted, but I never go there. I never check that stuff. People do stuff on Twitter. I'll get something in email. I just delete it because I'm just on Facebook. And it helps keep my focus to one platform. So like I said earlier, I'm on email and I'm on Facebook. So same thing with you. That demographic that you're going after, who you're helping, it's going to dictate where are they on social media and that one platform. That's the one big thing. So that's going to help you keep your focus. The next piece that's going to help you keep your focus is you want to determine what is your one live event that you're going to do every week. Right? And for some of you, oh, Jeff, but I've got a full-time job, and I'm a mom or a dad, and we have all these responsibilities. So we can do this on a larger scale if you've got more time, or you can even do this on a smaller scale, meaning an hour a day, even if that's broken up into 15-minute increments in terms of getting your message out there. But what's that one live event that you're doing each week? And I gave some examples, like a Facebook Live or a call like this, a webinar, a podcast, whatever it is. But what's that? You're not doing all of them. You're doing one of them. Like, I have my Tuesday call. I do this call when? Every Tuesday. I don't miss a Tuesday. And so around that call provides the structure for my marketing activities. Because on Mondays, I get to send an email out to my email community and share a little story, and then have it come to a point, and then invite them to this call that's happening the next day. I then get to take the content that I write in that email, and I get to create events in my Facebook group and my Facebook page. And then I get to take that content and I get to go in other groups where you might have even heard of me, where other coaches are, and I get to paste some of that content. And maybe some of them I can put a link inviting them to the call. Maybe some of them I can't, but I can still put the content that I wrote in there, my story with my point. And through social media stalking and curiosity, people, they click and they navigate, and if they see something they like, especially when you have a clear phrase or a headline like helping who with what, and you see me and selling coaching and helping coaches transition to a full-time business, because I'm putting my information in front of those people because I know where they are, If they see that and it's relevant for them, now they're most likely to go to my website and maybe download my free offer, The Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches, or they might migrate their way over to my private Facebook group, or both, and now they become a part of my community. They might go to my university and start listening to this stuff. So we're doing the same thing with you, is we're starting to get your message out there, and this weekly live event that you're doing, and it doesn't have to be an hour call. It could be a 10-minute Facebook live that you do, but you just do it every week, right? So I'm trying to show you the different scale that you can do here. Maybe you do it. So my clients, I'm working them setting up a 30-minute call, or a 15-minute podcast, something like that, or doing a webinar. But you're doing that every week when you can do it, and you can create your marketing around that, like I said. So like that can happen on Monday. Then on Tuesday, for instance, with the call, now it provides me the structure to be able to send an email reminder out to my email community. It allows me to get online and just kind of say, hey, if those of you that are in my Facebook group, you might have saw that I posted 15 minutes before the call saying, hey, I'm super excited to get on the call today. Exciting announcement at the end. Here's, you know what I mean? So you create some hype. After this call, you'll notice I'll get online and I will say, hey, we had a great call today, and I'll tag as many of you as I can that are in the group that I can have figured out we're on the call. And I'll say, hey, I'd love to hear what you thought about the call. So I try and create engagement. I'll try and get people involved. I'd like to hear what they have to say. And then later on, like the next few days, it allows me to, from the content of what we talked about today, I can now make a video. I can now write something. It allows me to get my email out again to people. It allows me to get in my group, record the call. So on Friday, I can send another email out with some great content, letting them know the recordings in the university. I can get on my social media platform, and I can now share that as well, interact with people through the week. So without excruciating detail, just that one live event that can set the structure up for your emails. It can set the structure up for now you getting out there and interacting with your audience via email and then your social media platform. So that's our way of kind of staying in front of and engaging our audience. And now, because we've set up great lead capture, here's the other important piece, because we've set up great lead capture meaning, as an example, if you go to sellingcoaching.com, you'll see, and this is exactly how I'd want you to structure your website, is you go to your website, you see a picture of you, and you see your headline, helping coaches transition to a full-time business. Helping who with what specifically. Right underneath that, you're gonna have your free offer. You call it a lead magnet, you call it whatever you want, but bottom line is you're not gonna just have, hey, join my mailing list. Like, why am I gonna join your mailing list? Why do I want just to get another email from somebody? Remember, people that are going there don't know you. They've heard about you from somewhere, or maybe they were searching for something and they came across your site. So they need to know right away with your headline, is this place for me or not? They can't be confused by quotes and a bunch of stuff. They've got to just be like helping who with what specifically, and then they're going to go, what, this is for me or this is not for me. You need it black and white, because if people get confused, they don't know where to go or what to do. Same thing if they arrive at your Facebook page or your Facebook group. So if you go to either one of my Facebook page or my Facebook group, my header, it's the most plain, simple header. It's got my picture, it's a white background, and it says helping coaches transition to a full-time business with Jeff St Laurent. It's very clear what I do, and it's the first thing you'll see in the description. You're going to either know it's for you or it's not. Don't get complicated, don't get fancy, don't get creative. I'm not trying to make it boring. When it comes to marketing, you shouldn't need to explain marketing. That's why when I reference someone like a business name, for example, it's like, if you're too creative and that's the only frame of reference they have, then they've got to figure out, and people don't have time to figure out or an attention span to figure out. So it's very straightforward, very simple. But again, on that website or wherever it is, you have that free offer, and that's because you know who you're going after and who you're helping. There's that compelling offer where they go, wow, I want to enter my name and email address because I want what they're giving me. Like, for instance, I have the Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. And if you go to my website, sellingcoaching.com, I just did it in a fun, playful way. Like I got a picture of my dog, licking my face, and I'm just like, my face is like it would be if my dog was licking me, because he was doing that while my friend's taking my picture, and I'm like, hey, enter your name and email and you can get my dog. I'm like, hey, no, just kidding. When you do it, you'll get the ultimate startup guide for new coaches. So either way, but you're just going to have a compelling offer. And when I work with my clients, I like to tell them, keep it simple. It's like, what are your first few steps to doing something? So like the person I mentioned earlier, helping loved ones find themselves after they've lost a loved one. It's like, your first few steps to beginning to find yourself. Your first 3 steps. That's the free offer. Got another client is helping people lose 50 plus pounds or more, right? So he general with the helping people part, but lose 50 plus pounds or more makes it very, very specific where to find this person and what this specific outcome is. And same thing with him. It's like it's the first 2 steps to beginning, to release 50 plus pounds. And it's like so basic and straightforward, but that's what a free offer is. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, a fancy name or anything like that. It's got to just make sense to that person and compel them to put their name and email address in to become a part of your community. So that's part of your lead capture system. So if you go to my website and explore, I'm saying that because you can start to see where I have that stuff. My Facebook group, that's another form of lead capture, for instance. So wherever you go, if someone goes to my website, you don't have to go very far to see my free offer there. And at the top of every page, no matter where you go, where you scroll, there's that little thing at the top that says join my private Facebook group. So once they go there and they click join and I accept them, that's another form of lead capture, because every time I myself or someone else posts in my group, what happens in a Facebook group, you get an email notification. All right? So they're part of my community. They're part of my circle now. And that's what you're going for. That's that lead capture. Without that stuff, you don't have a business. The first thing I said on the call today was we've got to build an audience. So if we're doing all this marketing and we do a call every week or whatever you're doing every week, and you start interacting with these people and you post this great content online, or you're doing workshops, etc., live and in person as well, whatever the mode is. And again, we have to do all of it. We're picking one thing, like I said, each week. But ultimately, we've got to be getting people into our circle, so to speak, into our community, whether it's a Facebook community or an email community. And that's where we start interacting with them. But you've got to have that lead capture. I can't tell you how many coaches' websites I go to, and it's just, and they're done by professionals. They paid someone money to do it, and it's just like, that's the problem with web designers, is they don't know marketing. They don't know what the purpose of a website is. It's a marketing tool. It's got to have that lead capture. And actually in my university, I did a call, I think it's call 46 maybe, but you'll see the website, ultimate website guide, do's and don'ts. Great call, great detailed information, and also a web resource for you there as well for someone to use if you're in that position. But we've got to have that lead capture set up. So as we go and we do all this activity, we capture people because they want to be there and they want to become a part of your community. So those are a lot of the bigger pieces to what we're doing, of identifying our audience, finding out where they are, understanding what they're going for, speaking our message, getting out there live every week with some format, creating our marketing system around that, meaning the emails and the communications on our one social platform that we go for, and then so we can engage with them, so forth and so on. And then obviously we have that lead capture set up. So those are kind of like the big, 10,000 foot view overview of our business. And now let me wrap it up with the last few minutes before I go into our special announcement. How do we monetize that, right? So it's like, we set all that up, and it's like, so now hopefully we're starting to get some traction. We're getting people in a group, let's say. We're getting people on our email list. We're doing these calls every week, and it's like, well, how do I make money doing all that? Someone even last week, they're like, Jeff, how do you make money? You go to my university and you do these calls and you're giving all this good stuff away for free. It's like, well, how do you make money from it all, And so where we start to monetize that, and there, again, there's so many different ways of monetizing things, and that's where we can get confused. And I'm not going to go in and bullet point a whole bunch of ideas because it's just going to confuse you more. But what I am going to do is let's start off with the one piece is we have a product, and that's coaching. right? And that's what we can sell. And that's why I recommend that you start with that one-on-one coaching, and that's what you sell to begin with. But through all this interaction and through getting our message out there, what we start to do is we start to interact with these people. 80+% of my hours in my business when I'm, outside of coaching people or doing calls like this, or just, getting that recording up there and some logistical things, etc. 80% of my time is spent interacting with people. And those of you that are on the call know I'm in emails with you, whether if you're not a client of mine, even if you are a client of mine, I'm working with you, but I'm emailing you. But those other people that aren't clients, I'm interacting with you. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. Do I want you to hire me? Absolutely. Do I want you to get in my group mentoring program? Absolutely. But I'm not trying to get you there. I'm just trying to create conversations with you to find out, like, hey, how'd you hear about me? You heard me asking that at the beginning of this call today. I'm like, if I don't know a name or don't recognize it, I'm like, well, who are you and where are you from and how'd you hear about me? I want to understand where my marketing efforts are paying off. Where are people coming from where I'm putting my information out there, who are attracted to my message. And I want to get to know, so, well, where are you? What are you doing? And what are you looking to do? And those are the interactions that I want you doing on a daily basis. With one of my mentoring clients yesterday, we just worked on a schedule, a day-by-day schedule of literally bullet pointing items that he needs to do each on like a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday. It was all based around the marketing system I told you, around having your live, let's say, weekly call or weekly something. But a lot of the bullet pointed items that were common on every day was getting onto, let's say, his social platform, for instance, with Facebook, and creating 20 new interactions with 20 new people every day, is creating interactions with them. And it's not trying to sell them anything. It's trying to, through posts they make or the reactions to posts he makes, it's engaging with them and asking them questions. Hey, I noticed you liked my video. I noticed you commented on the video. What did you like most about it? Tell me more about where you're at with blah, blah, blah. And that's it. And just seeing where it goes. And ultimately, if it gets to the point where you see that they have a need, and this goes back to the selling, right? If we see they have a need that we can assist them with our service of coaching, and we get to by asking, it's like, well, I see you going after X, Y, and Z. How important is it? Why now? Why is it so important that you accomplish this now? And how bad do you want it? And if that's there, the need and the timing is there, then now it's our job to transition that approach and ask them, I can see you're going after this and I can see you want it now. I can't help but ask you, would you consider working with someone like me as your coach? Would you consider hiring someone like me as your coach? Every single person on this call listening to it that has become my client knows this is exactly what I did with you. As I engaged in a conversation, and when I found this out, I just said, hey, I can't help but ask and I'm asking because of a need. I call this need-based asking, or need-based asking, because I'm asking based on a need, not just because you're a person with a heart breathing. I'm asking you to hire me, right? There's a difference there. It's because I've gotten to know you a little bit, and I've gotten to know what you're going after. And based on that, and based on what I know, I'm saying, hey, would you consider doing this? If you check out in the university, I have a lot of different calls on that specific stuff. I have one called the sales conversation, getting to understand that a little bit better. How to qualify a client before the complimentary session. I believe that's call number 33 as a reference. I go into deeper around some of this language and how to create that transition if you're there. But that's really, now that we set this whole structure up and I went over with it from that 10,000 foot view, that's basically, now we've set that structure up and that system up. And now our job is really just interacting with those people and either just inviting them over to our community if they're not already there. And if they're already there, it's just getting to know them a little bit better. And then when we know them, if they see the need and the timing is there, that's when we make a transition and ask if they'd be open to hiring us, or would they consider maybe another product if we have another product or service, and go from there. And that's how we can transition that into actual business. So I know it's a lot, but hopefully I kind of laid it out for you as kind of like at least an overview. And of course, throughout the year, through the recordings and the calls that I do, I try and take all different components of that and break them down with the calls. And then, of course, like I said, if you're in that place, I always work with you mentoring as well if that's where you're at. But before I open up the call for some question and answer and some thoughts, because because I always like to hear from you. I want to get that special announcement. And this is just a quick sneak peek of what's launching. So those of you that are in my Facebook group, my private group, and even email, I let the people there know as well. I don't leave anybody out. But something great is going to be happening in the group, and I'm launching it next Wednesday, January 11th, 2017. So that will be the official start day, so to speak. And I'm going to give more details as we go along. But the premise of it is based on something I did last year in the group. And even if you saw in the description, I've had something called the Visibility Challenge. And last year I launched that on January 13th, 2016. And this year it's kind of doing a hybrid version of that. And what I mean by that is basically, I'm going to give more details as we go along, but it's basically going to be an opportunity for every single person who's in that group, and it's just going to be exclusively for that group, whoever wants to join and participate. But it's an opportunity for you to start to become comfortable on video. And the hybrid version of it last year was basically it's 30 videos over 91 days. So it starts like, January 11th, and I think it runs through April, March something, right? I'll release all the dates and stuff like that. But basically where it's out to last year, if you did it, it was the 30 videos over 91 days is basically you doing a video every 3 days. And with that, the whole premise of it is not just to do a video. It's just to start, if you're in that place of just beginning, it's starting to speak your message. It's starting to get your language. It's starting to understand that. Like a lot of people that I work with, they don't know what their message is. Or they just start to come up with their headline that I talked about, helping who with what specifically. And it's like, well, what do I talk about with these people? And it's like, well, just start saying something. Just get in front of the camera. And one of my clients who did it the other day, and she was just talking about the snow. She was at her work actually, and she's just talking about snow, nothing to do with her business. But I'm like, I don't care if you do that. Just get on video and just start to become comfortable filming yourself and talking to this, blank camera, with no one in the room. It's different if you've never done it before. So maybe you're at that level. Maybe you're at the level where you've been doing it a little bit, but your language is kind of there, but you're starting to formulate it, and you want to start to create some education. That gives you an opportunity to do that as well. And then maybe you've been doing it a lot longer than that, and you're giving some great tips, some great pointers. So that's kind of the premise of how you use it. It's great because the energy in the group, when we did it last year, it was like, I'll look back to my numbers and I'll be releasing it as we go along, but I think over 80 people had actually done it. And the interesting fact is that of the 80 people that did it, there's only a small percentage of the people who actually completed the 30 videos, which I certainly expected as well, because that's just statistics. But this year, where I'm going to kind of hybrid it out a little bit, is I want it to be, I'm going to call it basically like a self-defined visibility challenge, meaning that the recommendation is, hey, if you want to do it as is, it's 30 videos over 91 days. I'm not going to change any of that piece. But what I want to do is I want to make it, I want to tailor it for people, because everything nowadays is customization. And so I want everyone to be able to kind of define for themselves, like, well, how many videos do I want to create over this 91 days? I'm going to keep the same time period, but, create a few, see what it's like, and then just, what do you want to commit to? If it's 30, if it's 50, if it's, 5 or 1 video, then fantastic. I want to make it more individualized, but bottom line is I want people to participate, and because it's for you to get your voice out there. It's for you to start speaking. The great part is also you get to see other people and what are they saying and what are they doing. Not that you need to watch every single video that goes in there, but part of it is where we get to at least comment on other people's videos. Even if you watch 5-10 seconds of it or skip to different parts, you like their energy, you like the way they look, you like anything about it. Just it's that positive reinforcement is really, really cool. So again, I'm going to give a lot more details as we go along. We'll be launching it, officially getting the message out there to everybody this Friday. And then we're doing a kind of a more of a detailed call next week on how to maximize this challenge for yourself. But I wanted to kind of just briefly spill the beans, so to speak, for the people that called in today, just as a little bit of a reward. Don't mention anything in the group yet. You can always talk amongst each other, but I'll just keep it a secret, and then I'll launch more stuff as we go along. But bottom line is we're going to get a really great opportunity to just connect on this great energy to share our message out there, and more importantly, for you to be able to speak your voice and provide a platform for you where you can start becoming comfortable speaking it. Because if you notice, I relate back to what I talked about today, is all of what we do once we define who we're going after is speaking our message. That's why when you go to my university, you see all these videos, and you see, you have my Tuesday call, and I'm in my group commenting, I'm emailing people, 3-4 times a week on the structure I told you about. I'm communicating with my audience, and that's what you've got to do to attract and build that audience. And if you can't communicate, then you're not going to be able to do that. So we've got to become proficient. We've got to become great at this. We're going to thrive and create a successful business where we get paid what we're worth. Is we've got to become more valuable, and that's being able to speak our message fluently and confidently. And that's why we've got to start somewhere. And in the beginning, we suck. It doesn't mean that you will suck. It just means most likely you'll feel that way. But you've got to get past sucking, or at least feeling that you do, in order to move your business forward. And that's part of really what this is all about.